This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, as I like to call it, Canada, but rocking a beautiful Toronto background behind me because, well, I prefer that over New Brunswick. Well, maybe not, depending on our shit political system. But on to a more positive thing, here we are, June 29th, 2025. And, I have some people on here tonight because one of the last films that I backed was this little gem, Hearts of
Woo!
Darkness, the making of the final
Woohoo!
Friday.
Yeah.
There you go. Folks, I have a group of people on here tonight. I have a first timer on the show, the editor of Hearts of Darkness, the making of the final Friday, Eric Beetner. How do you do, Eric?
I'm doing well, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I like that last name. Where does that originate?
That is from the German side of my family. I'm half German, half Irish, and I don't drink. I'm a disappointment to my family on both sides.
Oh, well, I think we got something in common. I'm just a disappointment to my family in general. And folks, we have the director, Hearts of Darkness, on here, as well as the director of a film that I have done, I think, 7 interviews from. Yes, Secret Santa, folks. Take a good look at this movie because it's got a lot of very interesting people in it. I love this film. It's on my Christmas viewing list every year. And of course, I got this big box set that features, I'll pull it out here. Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Woo!
yeah.
Woo!
Remember, Ernest Goes to Camp? Jason used to go to camp. Ernest never went to hell, though. So that's a new one.
Well, uh,
Don't give him any
Okay.
ideas.
Some of those movies might. So we have the director of the film, Adam Marcus. How do you do, Adam?
hey, buddy, I'm good. I'm good. By the way, I didn't direct Hearts of Darkness. I produced it. I'm just the subject of it because I directed Jason Goes to Hell.
What?
Yeah. Michael Felsher directed the movie. I produced the movie.
Why isn't he here tonight then?
Because he is desperately right now trying to put together all the deliverables for our movie to get it
Well,
out.
good. Tonight you're the director.
Okay. All right. I'll take it.
By the way, what was this on my phone you put? You had a heart on at 4
I
p.m.
said a hard out and I
Oh,
didn't misspell it. You just said it back to me that way, dude. Yes, I have a hard on at 4 o'clock, so I can't be here any longer because that's when my
Are
hard
you
on
kidding
shows up.
me? I thought for a minute, I was like, man, when I have one of those late night lonely lessons, I have somebody I can call.
Dude, I'm telling you, you see who I live with. Of course, I have a hard on every 4 p.m. Go on.
Stop.
Ah,
You know you're gonna get it when you're here with me. And folks, last but certainly not least, and it was a demand for me to do this interview because, man, I love the cackle queen. She looks luscious and lovely tonight.
You.
And folks, I love this woman. Folks, I give you the cackle queen herself. And if you haven't seen Secret Santa, you'll never know why I call her that. Folks, I give you the lovely, the beautiful Debra Sullivan. How do you do, Debra?
Thank you, Greg. I'm good. I'm really good. I'm really excited that the film is in the can and it's in
It's in
post-production
the
and
can?
deliverables. And yeah, it's very
It's in the
exciting.
can? It's in the bathroom?
Yes, it's in the bathroom.
It was
What
Curtis?
that
with
and our
Uncle
light
Carter,
reading.
exactly.
Yeah,
Oh my
that.
goodness. Speaking of which, I gotta say, I love the fact that back a couple months ago, Curtis Fortier reached out to me to come on my show.
Hmm.
And I love the fact that he felt free enough to do that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I really appreciated that. So yeah.
Dude, he
I
knows he knows you're a friend of Skeleton Crew. He knows it, man. We all do.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, love Secret Santa, and he did
Thanks,
tell
dude.
me that I might be one of the very few, maybe the only person that's got a signed copy of this by Robert Kurtzman and Marcy King.
That's very true.
Yeah.
That's
So
true.
yeah, because I met them at Frightmare in the fall, and you guys
Yeah.
got a picture sent to you.
Yes, I did. I did of all three of you.
Yep. So I got that signed, and I think Marcy was just tickled pink about that. So
Hmm.
yep. But but nonetheless, it's great to have you folks on here tonight, and to talk about Hearts of Darkness, the making of the final Friday. I've got other stuff from the film here as well. Actually, speaking of which, you even got your hat.
Mm,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, it's right there.
I didn't even get one of those.
He did not.
Really?
I'm
We're-
special. I'm special.
We'll
Remember,
have to, we'll have to fix that,
Adam's the
Eric.
one. Remember, Adam sends me special texts. When you're on the special text list, Eric, then you can get a hat.
True that.
And updates on his erections. I get it.
Exactly.
Oh dear God, save me.
There
So
you go.
So, by the way, the fellow you have on here tonight is a pretty celebrated gentleman. He's never going to toot his own horn, so I will.
You talk about yourself.
I am. No, I'm talking about Mr. Beetner. First off, Eric and I have known each other since we were teenagers.
Yep.
One of my best friends my entire life, and he is one of the lead editors of The Amazing Race for the last how many years, and he's been nominated for the Emmy 9 times, I believe.
That's correct.
He has also written over 30 books, novels. He's an amazing crime writer. Writes a very kind of noir kind of stuff. Amazing writer. And pretty extraordinary guitarist as well. So he's kind of an all around artisan. Yes,
and actor.
Yes. Renaissance man and an amazing actor. By the way, he's one of the leads of the film that I made at NYU that got me a career, that got me my first job. True story.
True. Yeah, I have an acting award from NYU Tisch School of the Arts, a school I did not attend, thanks to Adam sticking me in his movie.
So you're a guitarist, Eric. Who's your influence in a guitarist?
I grew up a punk rock hardcore kid.
Love it.
Adam
Love
had
it.
to suffer through basement shows with my band in high school, and so my influences were that, but also sort of learning guitar by sort of your standard 12-bar blues. So I would be playing like Black Flag records and then Muddy Waters records back to back to try to figure it all out. So I'm not formally trained. But I just give it my all, and played in bands for almost 20 years till my wife said, "Yeah, no more of that nonsense."
Well, that's when you get the divorce papers out.
Wasn't, by the way, Eric, wasn't it like a U2 song? Two Hearts Beat as One. Wasn't that the song that kind of inspired you to pick up the guitar?
No, it was U2 music video inspired me. The first electric guitar I bought was a black and white. It was an Ibanez, but a Fender Stratocaster lookalike, but based on watching MTV a lot and really liking the guitar that the Edge played. I was like, and so I went into the guitar store and I saw one hanging on the wall. I was like, oh, that's just like in the video. And I convinced my dad to buy it for me.
But he's a virtuoso. He's really extraordinary. He really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great guitar player and really good on stage too.
Singer.
Yep.
How many musicals did you guys do?
Yeah,
a lot. We did a lot of musicals together.
That's the thing. Like anyone who knows Adam, and I know he's got such a reputation, especially among the hardcore horror fans, as this sort of Prince of Darkness kind of guy. But I know Adam as the guy who was like, "Let's put on a show. We're gonna do Godspell." Like that. That was how I knew Adam. So to see him, but at the same time, then we would go home and we would watch Evil Dead on a loop. on a VHS tape. So yeah, Adam contains multitudes.
I know now, I know know Adam as somebody who's going to text me in the middle of the night and say, "Hey, I have some alone time."
Totally who I am, Greg. Totally. You nailed it. It's absolutely who I am.
You walked into that.
I hope not. That would hurt, dude.
Adam, I also know that you're an incredible artist too, because I see all your artwork on
That's
there.
sweet. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I love the artwork, but you got to start to, quit with the Sean Connerys and stuff like that and start putting
Sure.
harder faces instead.
Hey, oh no. Guess what? No. I actually just did a drawing of Curtis as Uncle Carter. I just did it.
No, you got to do Uncle Carter as Indiana Jones and
absolutely. But I'm doing a I don't know if you've been following this, Greg, but there's a great guy overseas, Jean-Louis Kalashi, who has he runs this series of books called Art de Cinema in France, and they're all in French. And I've been an associate editor of that book for, I don't know, a couple of years now. And we're doing an entire book on Secret Santa, and it's going to have portraits of every member of the cast.
I love Michelle.
Oh, she's the best.
Yeah,
she's the best.
love
She's
Michelle.
actually she's the first portrait I did because I did it for her birthday a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and I love Pippi.
Oh.
I like so many people in that movie.
Yep. And they love you, dude.
And I especially love the Cackle Queen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you gotta do the Cackle Queen as Princess Leia.
Definitely. Done.
You gotta do the
okay.
In the full gold bikini.
Oh,
Sure.
yes.
You gotta do the Cackle Queen as Sarah Connor. You gotta do the Cackle Queen as Ripley, Helen Ripley.
Nice.
There you go.
Just did a portrait of Sigourney
you
Weaver.
bitch.
That's right.
Well, you could have the Cackle Queen, and instead of the little girl, you could have Drew Lynch.
Perfect.
See, I'm giving you all kinds of ideas.
Absolutely.
There you go. I'm good at that because I met Shawnee Smith at Frightmare in the Falls last year, and I said to her, I said, you know something? You were in one of my favorite John Candy movies, Who's Harry Crumb? I said, do you ever stop and think of what it would be like if John Candy stumbled upon the Saw murders? And how he probably would have solved that by total accident. And she wrote that down.
That's funny.
She's like, man, too bad John wasn't around. I think she liked that idea. Yeah. See, I'm good at giving ideas.
Yeah, you are, brother.
There you go. But no, I gotta say, my brother also loves this movie. I love Secret Santa, and I look forward to Fat Camp Massacre. Lindsay Hollister I've had on here a couple times.
Yep.
You gotta get that going.
Absolutely. We actually just met with Lindsay a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I've had Lindsay on here a couple times talking about her work with Uwe Boll because I'm one of the few people that compliments anything he does. So yeah, she's got a good sense of humor. But anyway, yeah, Hearts of Darkness. Wow. This has been going on a while and kind of got stifled through the pandemic. And yeah, I worked through the pandemic, and government certainly didn't notice that because cleaners, we don't matter. But yeah, that's why I love movies like Toxic Avenger and Willy's Wonderland. It's people in my field giving the old FU. But Hearts of Darkness is I guess it's going to be a big thing, big documentary on the making of the Final Friday, and this has been going on for a long time.
Yeah, but I mean, but what's interesting, Greg, is that yes, you're right. it's been.
Oh, I'm
over.
not criticizing.
Oh, no,
I'm
no, no, I
saying
know.
that,
No, no, no,
yeah,
I know. No, I know.
yeah.
But here's the thing. There's been positives about how long it took. I know that seems insane, but it's true. Because it took so long, we had a director on originally on the film who just we didn't see eye to eye on the vision for the movie. Like he just wouldn't give me sort of the direction he wanted to go in.
Hmm.
And I think he was sort of flummoxed by it too. And so we ended up, right as the pandemic was ending, we ended up parting ways. And that's when I gave the film to Eric. I was like, Eric, I need an editor. You're the only guy I trust with this. So I brought Eric
Poor
on.
Eric.
Yes, poor Eric. It's true. And then I met with Michael Felsher, the guy who ended up directing the movie. And I have to tell you, if we had not hit the snag we hit with the pandemic, I might not have ever met Michael. And I will tell you, the work that the guy has done on this movie in conjunction with Eric, the two of them as a team, it was kind of remarkable what happened in the movie. Because it didn't start out the movie that it ended up becoming. I mean, I'm telling you, Greg, like your name is on this film, like you're a producer on this movie. I got to tell you something. You're going to be really proud of the movie we made. And for a while there, I was really worried about what this movie was going to be. I was really worried. And I got two guys on the movie who are real artists, who are real storytellers. And suddenly we had a real movie. And it's real, dude, it's really good. We just won Best Documentary at Ravenheart Film Festival in Oslo, and suddenly the movie is like going to all these different festivals and people are really responding to it. So I think in its own way, the time it took to get it made was a blessing as well as a curse.
I also think that we ended up having a couple of fortuitous things based on the timing. Is that we ended up running so long that we hit the 30th anniversary, and we were, there was such interest in the film at that point that they did screenings. The American Cinematheque did a screening that we shot, and so Adam's Q&A on stage and sort of the audience introduction we were able to incorporate into the film, and then they did a screening at the Alamo Draft House here in Los Angeles. And another Q&A, and we saw that was coming up, and so we all, Michael and I and Adam and Deb, and we all got together. We said, hey, this is a missed opportunity if we don't shoot this. So we went down, we grabbed some cameras, and we shot that. There's a ton of audience interaction. That really became a huge part of the skeleton of the film, the storytelling that we hung on. And so I think it really expanded the scope of the film, and it got you out of just this talking head documentary thing.
Right.
So we're interviewing Adam and the cast members in their sit down talking head interviews, but we're also able to break out and get into these more lively discussions, these conversations that Adam was having with these great interviewers, and hearing audience questions that are more impromptu. So we're able to thread some of those answers. Adam could start an answer in his sit-down interview, continue the story in one of these audience Q&As, and give sort of different flavors to the great backstories that happen around this film. And that never would have happened if we hadn't gone so long.
Yeah.
So, we definitely made the lemonade out of the lemons we were given.
Yeah, and we also got behind the scenes footage that we didn't even know existed.
By the way, from your buddies, Bob and Marcy.
Right.
That Greg, I'm telling you, when you see this documentary, you are going to be blown away. Every single showing that we've had in festivals, standing ovation, people just going nuts for this movie, laughing out loud because it's Adam. It has to be funny. He just has such a wonderful sense of humor. And so does Michael and Eric. And they took that and built it in along with things that have never been seen before. And the audiences are just going nuts for it. We are so, so proud of this film.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm just bringing it up here on IMDb here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I wanted to click on Eric to see what other films he had done.
Mm-hmm.
My IMDb is so out of date. It's because it's up to whatever shows decide to list something. Yeah, it's just
really?
I work a lot.
Yeah. By the way, Greg, have you noticed like how different IMDb got once Amazon consumed it? It's a different platform, dude. Like just to get stuff changed, like when we have changes to like add stuff to the page,
Yeah.
it takes like a year for them to add something. And it used to take 3 days.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's crazy.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yes. IMDb is a completely different platform now.
Yeah, there's things on there that, like, I think it says I cut 1 episode of Fear Factor. I was like, dude, I cut 9 seasons of that show. Give me a little bit of credit. Watching people eat bugs for 9 years.
Jesus. I don't know how you, by the way, I have no idea how you did that. I don't know. Michael.
It's still one of the highlights of my career is that I edited the episode and specifically the challenge that NBC refused to air on Fear Factor. So there was an episode that went too damn far and they said, oh yeah, no, we can't air this. And I had to live with that in my edit bay for 3 weeks watching over and over again.
Michael Felser, our director, he also directed the documentary about Creepshow. I don't know if you've seen it. It's amazing, called Just Desserts. It's really good. Michael was he was George Romero's personal documentarian for the last 15 years of his life before he passed away. And
I had Romero's widow on here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I met her at Horrorama, the very first one I did.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, Susan was on here. And, yeah. And she had little Romero dolls on her table.
So Michael cut that movie, and I got to tell you something, Eric. I can't even get through the doc when I rewatch it because of the "they're creeping up on you" section. Like I can't do it.
Oh yeah, no,
I can't do it.
That's a deal breaker for Adam.
I just can't. It's too. By the way, Michael has the same problem. Michael said, do you know how hard it was for me to work on that movie for as long as I worked on it? He says, because everybody had stories about that. Like that was the most interesting section from a documentarian standpoint. And I can't look at the screen. Yeah, that was the thing. So no, Eric's kind of legendary when it comes to television editing. And the funny thing is, okay, so one of the bonuses of having Eric cut this movie, right, is that he's used to getting, footage from 45 cameras on The Amazing Race, right? It's like cameras everywhere. And he was like, when he got our footage, like, really? You shot this much for this? Really? And I got to tell you, I feel bad for it. Like, I actually feel bad that he had to go through the, number of hours of just interviews with people talking about one movie.
There's a lot. Because it's, when you get the Blu-ray, it's not just the film, which runs about 1 hour and 45. There's 2 hours of extras that we didn't have time to fit in the finished film, or, there's sections with that are just fans giving their memories and talking, and some people that we interviewed that just didn't make it into the film. So there's so much bonus material.
Yeah, crazy.
That we basically cut 2 feature-length films.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's crazy, Greg. The disc is insane, man. It's like a 4-hour movie. It's crazy.
Did you include my my nude pole dance with my cat?
Yes. Well, that's in the extra special features.
Well, I figured that was why you guys got the standing ovation.
Well, that were too frightening for the film. That's the thing. It's the footage that's too scary.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, no, I'm looking forward to this, and I love hearing the stories. I did have one question for you, Eric, because this has always been a pet peeve of mine when Freddy versus Jason got made.
Mm-hmm.
And this to this day irks me because I think it's ignorant and stupid. The director of that film got hired because he made Bride of Chucky. So he goes in, he hadn't seen any of the Elm Street or any of the Friday films, which to me makes no sense.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
So what's he do? He watches the original Nightmare on Elm Street, which I get. That I understand. And he watches the original Friday the 13th, and I'm like, you might as well watch an episode of the fucking Care Bears considering what you get out of it in terms of Jason. I've often told people, if you haven't seen a Friday the 13th movie and you want to watch one, either watch the final chapter, the fourth one, or Jason Lives, the sixth one.
Yeah.
Final chapter, I think, is the scariest one, and I do have a signed hockey mask by Ted White here.
Nice.
He was my favorite Jason because he was intense.
Yep.
He was intense in that movie. And Jason Lives just hands down is just friggin' fun,
It's a great movie. It's a great movie. Great.
And the director of Freddy versus Jason, he watched the original Friday the 13th, and I'm like, what did he get out of that? And I gotta wonder whether that has really stagnated the original Friday the 13th, because I find some of these first timers that go into that are supposed to do a new movie, I think they're really hindering themselves on that, And I'm willing to bet you that's one of the issues that Sean Cunningham has with this franchise, is the fact that, unlike Halloween or A Nightmare on Elm Street or a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, his film is rarely ever picked as number one favorite.
Right.
So
it's not, but it doesn't have the villain that everybody knows.
Right.
Well, not only that, it's billed as a kind of as a whodunit, but you don't see the person perpetrator and towards it. Like, I'm sorry, it does not work.
No, it's a total cheat. It is a cheat. You're 100% right. Yeah. Suddenly, this middle-aged woman shows up, and it's like, oh, who are you? And it's real. It's 80 minutes into the movie that she shows up. It's nuts. I agree.
So, Eric, had you watched any of the franchise before this?
Safe to say yes. Adam and I spent far too many hours watching all manner of films, but horror films especially.
I know you watched Showgirls in The Room a bunch of times.
Well, yeah. No, we
do that to this day.
Yeah.
We were of the VHS generation, and my job in high school was working in our local video store, so I had access to anything and everything for free all the time. And Adam also, we lived about an hour train ride outside of New York City, so we would have easy access to go into the city to see screenings of rare stuff. I remember Adam, one time when he was at NYU, he called me with about 2 hours notice, I think, and said, dude, they're showing Suspiria at the Angelica Film Center. You got to come in. I hopped on a train, went into the city to watch Suspiria on the big screen.
I love that film.
Yeah, so we that's the kind of thing we would do. And Friday, through Adam's personal connection to the first one and just the franchise as a whole, the whole Friday series were favorites of ours. I mean, we watched the first one. We both loved part two. And then getting into all those, that series it is very unique because it did reinvent itself a couple of times within the first four movies.
Yep.
And so
keep talking. I'm getting my Ted mask.
Go for it.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea of a new Friday the 13th movie was a big deal for us. So we would go and see anything right as it came out. And any of the big horror franchises, Friday, Nightmare, all those things. We were there for the first releases of all of these films.
Yeah.
Which, for a horror fan, the 80s, what an exciting time that was. And we got to see all these the John Carpenter films on first release and all that stuff. So yeah, we were steeped in horror films of any flavor, any stripe, and the more obscure the better. We dug deep into all the Cronenberg stuff, all the Italian giallo stuff. That is cool.
Nice brother.
Yeah, it's signed by Ted White. I got a bunch of stuff signed by him actually. So you're the guy that if I went into the video store, I'd say, hey, could you take me to the Neil Breen section? You'd know where it is?
Yeah, and I think Adam and I both were. The other thing we had with us is we were completists. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But we've talked about this a lot, where it's like, if we would see we saw Dawn of the Dead or Night of the Living Dead or something, like if there was a director that we liked a film of theirs,
Mm-hmm.
we would do the homework and hunt down everything. And
this is before the internet.
Stuff.
This is before IMDb or any of that. We would have to go to the pages of Fango, and
right.
You'd have to really research stuff, and we did.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I've done.
We found a way to find, like, I don't know where we found a copy of like Four Flies on Grey Velvet and stuff like that, but we found it.
We found it.
I love Dario Argento. I've done 4 interviews from Suspiria.
Nice, dude.
I'm lucky I had Jessica Harper on here.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I was one of the last, maybe the last, to get Daria Nicolodi on here before she
really.
I'm going to tell you a story behind that.
Sure.
I reached out to her back in 2016 on Twitter, and she was very polite, but she turned me down. And I think she got tired of talking about the film she did with Argento.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess, they're divorced and whatnot, and she did 7 films with him. Well, what had happened was at Horrorama 2019, the guest of honor was Lamberto Bava.
Mm-hmm.
And she was not only in one of his movies, but Lamberto was the son of Mario Bava.
Right.
And Nicolodi was in Mario Bava's last movie, Shock.
Yeah.
So in 2020, before lockdown, this was before I was on Zoom, I reached out to her again on Twitter, and I said, I pitched the idea of the anniversary for Deep Red.
Right.
And this is a quote. She said, "This interview will likely not happen." But I threw it out to her. And I think it was the fact I met Lamberto. And she said to me, she came back to me, she says, "I'll do this interview on 2 conditions. 1, I want to lavish my love for Mario Bava." She just loved him. And 2, I want to showcase my love for my daughter, Asia Argento.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, absolutely. I had her on here. We did talk Deep Red,
As you should.
Interesting thing with the cigarette there in the hand.
Mm-hmm.
We touched on Suspiria, which she was one of the writers on. We talked about her working with a young Jennifer Connelly and Phenomenon. But I kept the Argento stuff as brief as I could, and we talked about the other stuff. And by the end of the interview, and this was a massive compliment, she was very apologetic. She said, "I was very hard on you before, but she said, you made this so easy on me. I'm so glad I did this."
Oh, nice.
And she thanked me for the interview. And when I was so sad when she passed away, but I'm so glad I got that interview.
Yeah, big time, dude.
Yeah. So I'm always happy when I can prove to somebody that I'm up to the task of doing them justice, So I love Suspiria. And with Jessica Harper, I donated to, I forget the ailment she has. She has an illness, her and her brother, and I made a donation to it. And I was on my way to work one night. This was in 2017. And my phone dings. I got an email. So I was at the traffic light. So I checked it very, very quickly. And it was Jessica Harper saying, thanking me for the donation and saying, yes, you'll do my podcast. So
that's awesome, dude. By the way, I got to tell you, Deb and I just saw, just a few weeks ago, we just saw Phantom of the Paradise for the first time on the big screen. We'd never seen it projected before.
I've done a lot of interviews from that, too.
And she's so good in that movie. She's just great. I mean, the movie's so good, but she's great.
I love that movie. We talked about that. Yeah. And I've had 2 of those bandmates on the show.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And Janice Blythe, who's, of course, in The Hills Have Eyes, she's on the bed turning scene.
Yes. Yeah.
And I've had Saratoga Ballantine, who's one of the crow dancers, on.
Mm-hmm.
But they also do a festival for it in Calgary. And they've been doing this for years because Calgary really brought that film to life.
Mm-hmm.
And Gloria Desania, excuse me, came on the show, and she's one of the organizers.
Mhm.
And I don't know whether I'm going to get uh, Williams on the show, but I guess he's heard my interview with her.
Oh, good.
Yeah, yeah.
Paul, we tried for Secret Santa. I
Hmm.
wanted the ending song on Phantom of Paradise to be the theme of Secret Santa. I wanted it to be the end of the movie, just the hell of it. And Paul and I spoke about it. Like I wrote him a letter telling him how much I love his music, that I was raised on it, and he's one of my favorites. And in fact, Eric and I, as kids, were addicted to Bugsy Malone.
Oh.
We knew all those songs, like love that show. And so he and I got along so well. And then his manager came in and was like, "There's no way you're getting the song. Back off." It's like, "Oh, okay, all right, cool, bye." But Paul and I were like, we're becoming friends. I was like, "This sucks. I love this guy."
What's wrong with the manager? Like I don't understand this. I've
Happens
had
all
some.
the time, dude.
Yeah.
Happens all the time. They're like pit bulls.
Yeah, because I've had cases where people have been very, very nice, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like I was on the verge of getting Olivia Newton-John on here,
Wow.
and her manager was very nice.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, with her illness and whatnot,
Right.
and then her death, that interfered with that. But I was in talks. I've had situations where managers have been like that, and I get really pissed off when I get asked what my viewership's like or my subscribership. Listen, I could care less. You could have somebody that's got the upteenth most subscribers and be a complete asshole to you,
Mhm. Right.
or you could come on my show and be welcomed.
Yeah.
And I've
Yep.
had people on my show that other people wouldn't touch
Mhm.
because they're not famous enough, you know?
Right. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I pride myself in having, what is it, 7 people from Secret Santa?
Damn
And
Skippy.
most of the time you're asked about Jason Goes to Hell. And here
Mhm.
you're the only one from Jason Goes to Hell I've had on here. Whereas Secret Santa, I've had a whole mess of people on here because it's like, I love that. So I
Yeah.
try to help it find a new audience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, dude. Well, it's
And we
also why you
appreciate
and
that.
I. What, sweet?
I said, and we appreciate that.
Damn Skippy. No, dude, it's why when we've stayed friends, and why you got involved in Parts of Darkness. And I mean, dude, again, I'm telling you, you're gonna be so proud to have your name on this movie. It's crazy.
Well,
Crazy.
I'm going to tell you, it was one of the last things I did. I won't get into detail. I think you know my situation with 13 Fanboy. Funny, I met Tracy Savage at Frightmare in the Falls last year.
Mhm.
She was, I'm sorry to Judy Aronson and the whole stalker thing, but Tracy was the one I had the hots for. Tracy recognized me right away, come over and gave me a big hug and let me kiss her on the cheek.
She's very sweet. Tracy's
Yeah,
very sweet.
Tracy, you know what? I didn't stalk her. Amazing, isn't it? Amazing. I'm almost tempted. I haven't done it, but I'm almost tempted to have a t-shirt done up of instead of Jason, it's me coming out of the lake. Miss Aronson on the raft with me with a big shocked look on my face. Judy Aronson stalker. But I haven't done it because I sleep and work mostly, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Give
Mm-hmm.
it way too much time, and I think secretly she likes it too much, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I met Tracy Savage, and she gave me she for free signed a script for part 3 for me, you know.
Nice, man.
You know, and I haven't got to look at that yet, but I
You
gave
know
her a lot of
that
business.
Larry Zerner is the lawyer on this film. He's our lawyer on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a fan of his.
Oh, sorry.
Well,
You brought up part 3, and I thought I would throw out a part 3.
I met David Cadams. Here's the thing with Larry. Larry turned my show down, and that's a no-no.
He doesn't do a lot, though, dude. That's not.
Well,
That's
he said something to me that offended me.
okay.
I went up to him at Frightmare in the Falls, and I thought, well, I'm going to pitch my show because Tracy introduced me to him. just casually. And I remember Tracy said to Larry, she goes, "Do you know Greg?" And he goes, "I don't know. I don't know." And I said, "You turned my show down." And I tell you, that shut that down quick. And I'm one of these guys. I'm like a cobra with its hood spread, you know?
Mhm.
Because I remember Jeff Lieberman years ago. He turned my show down, and he was comparing me to a radio station in New York that had so many subscribers,
Mhm.
and he was downplaying my viewership. And basically, I said, "You will never get my support at a con." Because I could just as easily look at Jeff Lieberman and say, "You're not Alfred Hitchcock. You're not Dario Argento. You're not John Carpenter. You're not
Mhm.
George Romero. You're not even in the conversation, mister. And you're downplaying me for these bigger YouTube channels." Well, here's the thing with Larry. Larry's
Yeah.
been getting a lot of attention, whether it be Crystal Lake Memories or whatnot, because he's involved, he's a lawyer and this and that.
Right.
So on Sunday, the last day of the event, I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to go up and I'll get an autograph from him. So I went up, I gave him my card, I got the autograph picture, and I pitched it to him. And he told me he uh, doesn't do podcasts and this and that. And he said that he's busy, busy, busy. So I told him, I said, I work between 70 and 80 hours a week as a cleaner.
Mhm.
And unlike doctors and nurses during the pandemic, we got shit notice for it. And that
Right.
offends me to this day.
Right.
We didn't get raises. And he said, I would like to not work 70 or 80 hours a week. And I was sitting there thinking, are you downplaying what I do? So I walked away from him. I didn't say another word. And I was in line to do a photo op with Suzanne Snyder.
Mhm.
And the whole thing just kind of irked me. And it irked me and it ate at me and ate at me. And I was like, you know what? I don't need this. I'll take the rejection. I took his photo out, the autograph. I put it in the trash and I deleted his photos off my phone.
Mhm.
I got Tracy Savage. She comes on here every year for Boxing Day.
Right.
She loves talking to me. I've had David Cadams on here, I understand Larry works hard, but so do
Yeah,
I.
but wait. But by the way, I don't think that's. I think he's giving you a line because I will tell you. Here's the issue that Larry has with doing any kind of interviews. Because he deals with the legalities of a lot of these movies, because now he's an entertainment lawyer, right? So he can't, even on our film, the stuff he can't talk about. And especially during the lawsuit, everybody was trying to get him to come on and talk about the lawsuit, which he can't talk
Yeah,
about.
but you know what? I reached out to him before Hearts of Darkness.
No. I understand. What I'm saying is it's not about Hearts of Darkness. I'm saying because he's a lawyer, there's so many things he can't. I'm sure that's why he doesn't do podcasts, because he can't talk about so much that he puts himself in danger.
Well,
Legally, right.
understandable, but like I said, I've been kicked to the curb too many times. Where
I understand that. Yeah, I'm just saying.
I had an Australian filmmaker reach out to me.
Mhm.
I didn't know who David Black. I had no idea who he was. Didn't know him from the next person, and he
Right.
was turned down from 2 other podcasts. He reached out to me, and I could have just as easily said, "I don't know who you are."
Right.
I said, "What dates and times are you available?"
Right.
Okay. He says to me, he says, "We probably won't get much more than half hour out of this."
Mhm.
We talked for 2.5 hours.
That's amazing.
And it was all because I asked him, I didn't know a single film he did.
Mhm.
I just asked him about his background. I followed up questions. I asked about this film, that film. I asked followed up questions. So I treat my guest well.
Yes.
So when I get kicked, my rule is I don't support them at cons. That's my rule.
No, I get it. I do. I
Yeah.
totally do. Dude, listen, I come from the point of view of I think everybody should be treated with respect and grace. And that's the way I've handled my whole career. And there's a lot of people who don't feel that way or they don't think about it that way. And I think that's foolish. I do.
Like you guys would get. I'd go meet you guys at a con because you got done. I definitely go meet Cackle Queen for sure.
Well, yeah.
I'll be there.
But
we're actually Deb and I are going to be at Crystal Lake Nightmares, which is the first all Friday the 13th con.
I won't be there because, like I said, Judy's going to be there and Debbie's going to be there, and I'm avoiding anything they're at. I got the Jim Cornette, Vince Russo rule when it comes to them. Jim Cornette said he will not do a con that Vince Russo is going to be at because he does not want to put himself in a situation where he's going to get arrested.
Sure. And
I don't have very positive things to say to either one of them. And it's amazing. Even talking to Sean Clark, you know, I'm amazed at what a bad reputation Judy has. So I've heard it all. You know, that hurt. And that's why I don't get involved anymore with these films.
I get it.
But I'm glad I'm involved with your film. You guys are genuine. But my show is very, very open to anybody that's a first timer that wants to come on. And I don't care if they know who they are or not, you know? So,
well, while we're on here, let's talk about the movie, man. Let's get into it because you're one of the big supporters of the film, man, which is extraordinary.
Well, one of the things I wanted to bring up was, of course, you know, one of your biggest supporters, one of your absolute biggest supporters. He's such a big supporter, he's just not around for it. Sean Cunningham, you know, such a big supporter. I heard from Jim Wynorski recently. He didn't have a good experience with him either.
No, no one does. No one does. Greg, I'm not a lone voice in the darkness. Sean is very tough, man. He's not. And again, by the way, I had a beautiful, you know, personal relationship with him growing up as a kid. Like as a teenager, he was wonderful to me. Helped support the theater company that I created. I mean, he couldn't have been nicer. And the minute it becomes about money with Sean, he changes. He just becomes a different person. And suddenly you're dealing with somebody who's a bully. And
if I ever meet him, or especially if I ever see him at a Q&A, I know what question I'm going to ask him.
Which is?
I'm going to say, how incompetent are you as a filmmaker that you had to kill a live snake during that movie?
By the way, good question. That's a great question. And I don't understand why in this day and age people don't ask it more often. I agree with you.
And people would say, well, Greg, could you do better? Yeah, I could have.
No. Wait, no. No one would do that anymore. No one would do that anymore. Dude.
I would show him you show the snake, you show him raise the machete, you show the reaction, you show him bring the machete down, the reaction out of them, brings the machete down again, reaction out of them. And then it's a very short clone, blah, 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 blah. Then you show him walk away with the.
By the way, it's not an expensive thing to have a fake snake.
Exactly. So that would be the question I would have. And I had somebody bring. Yeah.
I wish more people would ask it.
Yeah. So that would be my question. So Sean would not like me.
He doesn't like anybody, so don't worry. You'd be in good company, but.
And he's also a guy that doesn't seem to know when he's got a good thing, because when you got Spring Break, which was not a good movie, but still, when you got Spring Break, and you're just expecting people to heap something to you, and then you go from Spring Break to the New Kids, quit complaining. You made your own bed, sleep in it. You know. You know.
Yeah.
So he can't complain about diversity, and I think it pisses him off that more people like a lot of the sequels.
Well,
I mean, Jason X was terrible, but still.
Here's the thing. The problem, but again, remember, Jason X, I got to tell you something. The original script that Todd Farmer wrote on that movie was fantastic. It's a great screenplay. And the movie Jim Isaacs wanted to make, which was what they had on paper, was a terrific movie. Sean got in the way. of that happening. Look, and again, look, and we even cover this very well in the doc. And I have to say, Eric did an incredible job of keeping us out of these waters, because we asked Sean 5 times, 5 different occasions. He was asked to be interviewed for the movie, and he turned us down every time. He wouldn't even respond. And by the way, this is Peter Bracke asking him, who wrote Crystal Lake Memories, right? Who's like an amazing guy, and who had interviewed Sean for a decade, and he wouldn't even respond. So we gave him every opportunity. The thing that was great about what Eric and Michael did, because a ton of the interviews were about Sean, was asking about Sean and his involvement and all the rest of it. Yeah. And I got to tell you, like, the movie plays fair, because he's not there to defend himself. So I give my opinion on some of this stuff, but we don't harp on that. Like, we talk about it, it's there, and there's actually a great extra on the disc that does get more into it, and it's got footage of Sean at a convention.
I saw that.
Right. But by the way, that footage was shot by our associate producers, by 2 of our guys, right? Yeah. So because Sean had a way to, he actually gets to speak, he gets his side out there, right? Because of that, we could address it a little more directly, right? But I got to tell you, man, look, you're not wrong. He made a ripoff of Friday the 13th and Bay of Blood. He knew that when he made it. He talked about it liberally. And the other filmmakers, I mean, Steve Miner is an actual director. He knows how to direct a movie. He's made good films. And, God bless. So when he ends up directing part 2, you go like, wait a minute. This is actually atmospheric. This has real suspense. This isn't just someone jumping out and stabbing somebody. This actually is building on something, and you get a performance like Amy Steele in that movie. She's great in that film. She's great, So you've got great performances. It's well shot. It's well paced. And that's what happens when you have a real director. If you ask Sean about style, Sean will flat out say to you, I don't have any style. What the hell is that? That shit you learn in film school. Well, yeah, it is actually, Sean. Yeah, it is. You actually learn something when you ask other people, like, how can I do this better? So, but the movie is very fair-handed, really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing about the doc is, it's fun. It's fun, and we wanted to keep it in an up and a positive state, because so many fans of Jason Goes to Hell are wonderful people, and they want that. They want the juice and all that other stuff. But what they really want is to spend that time with Adam and the cast members, reminiscing about how great it was, seeing behind the scenes how the special effects were done. And we purposefully, and Eric, you can talk to this, we purposefully wanted to keep it in a light up tone.
For sure. And I think you're right, Deb, that most of what the interviews brought was a real sort of fun sense of nostalgia. I mean, everyone had such fond memories of the film. And so all the stories that people would tell, they acknowledged the tight schedule, the low budget, all those things that could have made it such a shit show to work on. But everyone really looked back with such fondness at how everyone stuck in and got it done despite the low budget, despite the schedule, despite this newbie director that they all sort of had to get used to. I think there was Bill Dill, the cinematographer, talks about it. The cast talks about walking on set that first day and seeing this 22-year-old kid and having to say, all right, I'm going to put my trust in him. And then from day one, knowing, okay, nope, everything's going to be all right. It's going to be cool. That's what I mean. One of my favorite little moments of that is when we're talking to Howard Berger and Bob Kurtzman and talking about meeting Adam for the first time and how they immediately knew that they were like-minded people and that they were going to get along. And I think that was reflective of almost everyone, that the minute everyone had a conversation with Adam, got that he had a vision for the film, it put everyone at ease, and everyone said, all right, we're all in this together, let's do it, and let's try to make the greatest version of this franchise film that we've seen, because this is a really exciting opportunity to do something different and do something new. And then when we were putting it together, that was one of the things that Michael and I talked about very first in our very first meeting, was not letting the doc get derailed by old grievances or
Right.
rumors that abound on the internet and all of that jazz. It's so easy to just go towards the gossip side of it. We didn't want to make a gossip film. We wanted to make a loving look back at this film, while at the same time embracing the fan reaction, the hardcore Friday the 13th fans who didn't like it at first, and then the legacy of the film now 30 years later. So that was sort of our challenge, is to fit all that in, while, like Deb says, also having a great time. There's some huge laughs.
It's really
with
fun.
The audience was so great.
Well, I think one of the things that's really interesting, because when you're listening to the interviews from people, they all talk about what a great time they had, how great Adam was to work with. Oops, lost my lighting. Hold on. How great Adam was to work with, and that he inspired people to do things like, well, we don't have that money in the budget, and somebody going, whatever, I'm having a good time. They're doing a great job. I'm going to donate this for free. And the interesting thing is, to go full circle, making the documentary was just as fun and positive and wonderful as it was for Adam when he made the original. So it really what is it? Wolfman's Got Nards. If you've
Wolfman's
seen
Got Nards.
it's got that kind of feel, that kind of loving remembrance of people just having a good time.
And wait, and by the way, I'm going to give Greg a little bit of an exclusive, because this is on the Blu-ray, but it's not in the movie, and so we haven't really talked about this that much in public, that's for sure. But Eric, tell Greg how you almost worked on the original movie, that you have a connection to both films.
Yeah, this was a full circle moment for me, for sure, because like Adam said, we went to high school together and had big dreams, and we had a plan to make films together from the very beginning. And Skeleton Crew Productions was started in high school by a bunch of teenagers. We still have our original business cards that we made with Skeleton Crew Productions on it. So we had big plans. And so Adam was 2 years ahead of me. So he went off to NYU. I was still in high school. And then I followed, and I went to film school in Boston, and, kept communicating. I would go down to New York, work on his student films. I would show him.
I came out to Boston every other week. I was there.
Yeah, and I was showing him the stuff that I was making, and so I remember very distinctly the phone call in my dorm room when Adam said, "Guess what? I'm going to LA. I'm going to be directing a Friday the 13th movie." And hell yeah, it's all happening. It was, so the short story is, I graduated film school. 2 weeks later, I was on a plane. Adam picks me up at LAX in a convertible. We drive over to his pad in Venice. It was like, wow, this is really happening. This is everything we ever dreamed of. And, dropped me off with my 2 suitcases. And he said, oh, by the way, New Line pulled funding. There was an issue with the script, but it's going to be fine. And I was like, what? So here I am, I have no money. I'm crashing on a friend of ours on his floor in his 1-bedroom apartment. And, as these film shutdowns happened, it dragged on for weeks and then a couple of months. And then my guy whose floor I was staying on decided he was leaving LA and moving back east. So I lost my apartment. I had no savings. So I was like, look, I got to pull up stakes and go back to Connecticut and save up some money. So I had to leave LA and miss out on my opportunity to work on Jason Goes to Hell. It would have been a completely different life I led, but the fact that we were able to come back together and make this film together, and we have plans to do so much more.
Oh yeah.
So much more.
It just sort of put a pause on all the things that we had talked about, but it's so exciting and so gratifying to be doing the things that we talked about literally at 16 years old.
And we talked about 40 years ago.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And we're actually doing it.
You get these two together, and it's like no time passed at all.
Mm-hmm.
They live to give each other shit.
Oh, it's got to be so annoying.
And now I live to give them shit.
Yes.
Eric, I have a question. Out of everybody you interviewed for this doc, is there anybody, like I'm pretty sure everybody was great, but was there anybody that was a surprise to you? Like you got something out of them that you were kind of surprised about, or
That's interesting. I think I was surprised at how emotional Bill. Oh, here's my dogs are going. Hold on a sec.
Your dog wants to chip in.
Yeah.
Dog wanted to ask a question about Muffin or Gordon.
Sorry about that. But yeah, I think Bill Dill had some really kind of emotional reactions to looking back at this film and his experience with Adam. I think that was really interesting to see that. But I will say one of my absolute favorite things that happened is we got a great interview with an actor named Jonathan Penner, who was originally the cast choice for Stephen Freeman.
Yeah, he's the lead. He's going to be the lead.
And scheduling, again, we're sort of spoiling one of my favorite extras, but scheduling happened, and as happens so often in Hollywood, he had to drop out because he was tied up with another contract. And he and Adam had hit it off very famously, and so he ended up saying, "Look, I have one day free. I still really want to be involved in this project. Is there anything you've got?" And Adam said, "Yeah, no, great. I have exactly the part." So he came in, he played a minor character, got a death scene. In editing, something had to go. We had to get it down to a nice time. So in Jason Goes to Hell, Penner had the job, lost the job, came back for one day, and then ended up getting cut out of Jason Goes to Hell. Well, we interviewed Jonathan about this. He's a hilarious interview.
So good.
He was so energetic, so just funny in every answer he gave. And we drop it in the film, and then as we're tightening the doc, eventually Michael said, "You know what? I hate to do it. This doesn't really belong since he's not in the finished film." So Jonathan Penner got cut out of Jason Goes to Hell, and then eventually got cut out of Hearts of Darkness and relegated to the extras disc.
In the extras.
He is in the extras.
He's in the extras,
and he's great.
It's one of my favorite extras. Yeah. But I think it's so hilarious that he got cut out of both films.
There you go.
Oh, Jonathan.
Oh wow.
Do you know, Greg, do you know Jonathan? Do you know Jonathan Penner?
No.
Do you ever watch Survivor?
I don't watch television.
Oh, okay.
My TV set up to watch Blu-rays like this one.
Love it. So he was married to an incredible woman named Stacy Title, brilliant director. I've known them since Jason Goes to Hell, of course. Stacy died years ago from ALS.
It's how my dad passed.
Yeah, and Jonathan, in fact, we interviewed him at his home while Stacy was in her last days. We didn't know she was that close to the end, but that was the last time I got to say goodbye to her. And so Jonathan wrote and is one of the leads of Stacy's first movie as a director called The Last Supper. It's amazing. If you ever get a chance, it's really good flick. So they did that. And then Jonathan wrote The Bye-Bye Man and is in that movie for Stacy as well, who also directed that. And Bob Kurtzman did the effects on that movie. So anyway, Jonathan is the person to have played Survivor more days than any other person's played it. He's been in 5 seasons of Survivor. And it's crazy. He's a screenwriter and an actor, but he loved the idea of going to an island and being stranded. Like, he was so into that. And the audience loved him so much because he's so funny. He's such like a weird, funny dude that they just kept bringing him back. He kept becoming the fan favorite over and over again.
Definitely.
And this is the guy. This is the guy I originally wanted for Stephen Freeman.
And if
There
he
you
wasn't
go.
so busy running the Tribeca Film Festival,
Now he's running the Tribeca Film Festival, the
he
genre
would
division.
probably be on the big anniversary season that's
Yes.
coming up.
That's why he couldn't be on. That's literally why. Yeah. Yeah.
Here's a question. I'm wondering if it gets brought up on the documentary. How badly did Jason Takes Manhattan hurt the franchise?
Pretty bad. Pretty bad. It hurt it so bad that that's why Paramount gave up the rights.
Mm.
I mean, they just couldn't. They couldn't. The profit was still good on Jason Takes Manhattan. Let's not get that twisted. They still made money. They didn't make enough money for the embarrassment of having that franchise be under the Paramount label. Paramount never wanted that franchise. They wanted the first movie. They didn't know what it would be like. They thought, all right, we'll put out a horror movie. That's fine. They bought the movie for a reasonable amount of money, but it wasn't crazy. And suddenly it became this international, juggernaut. I mean, it was huge. And when they went to go make sequels, Sean Cunningham wanted to make sequels. Like, he wanted to do movies about the unluckiest day of the year. That was his whole idea. Much like John Carpenter wanted to make movies about Halloween. John Carpenter didn't want to make movies about Michael Myers. He had no interest. That's why he didn't do part 2. And so Sean, much the same, they said, look, we want to do it about that Jason character. It's like, the kid that drowned in the lake? What? In the 50s? They're like, yeah, that guy. He's like, well, what the hell is that story? Well, we don't know, but he should come out of the lake. And he was like, yeah, that's fucking stupid. I'm not doing that. And he said no. And he literally told his protege, Steve Meyer, who had been his protege for years, and his wife, Susan Cunningham, was like, you two go make that movie. I'm gonna go make The New Kids. I'm gonna go make something else. And so he went off to do something, and they went off to make that movie. And by the way, what they made was incredibly successful. What he did was not.
Yeah, he made a Strangers watching.
He sure did.
But
Boy, did he.
Rip Torn couldn't save.
Right.
He
Right.
didn't. He did not capitalize on Spring Break. He should have capitalized.
You're right.
I mean,
you are absolutely right.
Spring Break was not good, not in any way, but still.
By the way, do you know?
He should have went from Spring Break and seen if because Spring Break was different than Friday the 13th and Strangers watching.
Oh, sure.
Because I heard the complaint by him. He wanted to do something different. He had it. But then he ends up going to The New Kids, and then eventually an embarrassment called Deep Star 6. Sean couldn't even sell a movie he had Bruce Campbell in.
Oh, yeah. Terminal.
I don't know
Invasion,
what
Terminal Invasion. Terminal Invasion. Yes.
Like, he couldn't even sell a movie with Bruce Campbell. I saw Serving Sarah at the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And all the talk was not on Matthew Perry or Elizabeth Hurley. All the talk was Bruce Campbell in that movie.
Sure.
And Sean couldn't even sell that.
Dude, I was there. I was at the company when we were working on that movie, and it was called Invasion of the Face Eaters in 3D. That was the name of the movie. That was the original name of the film. Written by Louis Abernathy, and I can't remember the other writer's name, forgive me. But we did reading after reading after reading of that film. Then my buddy John Jarrell ended up writing on that film. Dean Lorey was asked to and didn't want to touch it. I mean, that movie was like a decade in the making, and it ends up on the Sci-Fi Channel. Yeah, dude. Look, by the way, he also created House, which was a huge hit. Like, that movie did incredible numbers. And I don't know if you know this, but you know the movie he turned down in order to do Spring Break?
Nightmare on Elm Street?
Nope.
Because I know he turned down working on that. And
he did.
If he's not kicking himself, he should be.
He did, but the movie that he turned down as a director, he was offered the job, was Red Dawn.
Wow.
Yep. And I know this because I did the first table read of Red Dawn as the C. Thomas Howell character. And Sean was going to make it. Like, he was like putting a cast together. I was in the cast. He was like, we're doing this. And literally he gets the script of Spring Break and goes, this is going to make more money. By the way, he was right. He was right. I mean, he made more money. way more money.
Yeah, but he
But
didn't capitalize on it, and that's
he
what he
didn't.
should have done.
Dude, do you know that Sean he knocked first he knocked The Empire Strikes Back out of first place with Friday the 13th, and then he knocked Return of the Jedi out of first place with Spring Break. He did both of those. Both of those films got knocked out of their number one spots on the box office for Sean Cunningham movies. The fact that Spring Break, it's a terrible movie. It's literally wall to wall boobs. That movie was number one in America is sort of amazing. Like, it's sort of great. Like, I kind of love that it went to number one. And also, I don't know if you know this, but I chose the entire soundtrack of that movie.
Well, then you did the most ambitious part of it then.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm actually the reason they hired Cheap Trick to do the theme song. That's a true story.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah. Because Susan Cunningham was like a mom to me, and I was working I was an apprentice editor to her for that summer. And she came to my house one day and said, "My son has no taste in music. Help me find a soundtrack." And we sat on the floor of my mom's living room with all of my 45s playing songs all afternoon. And I still have the 45s that she circled, like which ones she liked and which ones we thought. And that's literally the soundtrack of the movie, is from my 45s. That's literally how they chose the soundtrack. And then she said, we need an original song for the theme song. Who do you like? And at the time I was like, oh, I'm really into Cheap Trick. And she was like, great, and see if they're available. Cut to 2 weeks later, they are recording the theme song of Spring Break with Cheap Trick.
I just like that nobody's going to know what a 45 is.
I know
That's
what a
true.
45 is.
Well done, sir. She's saying your viewers, people are going to be like,
yeah. How old do you think I am?
Not a clue. Ageless.
Well, I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint. Okay. I was born the same year The Godfather, Cabaret, Fritz the Cat, What's Up, Doc, Pink Flamingos, stuff 71. Like that came out. 72.
Oh, 72. You're right. Forgive me.
Although I would have been in the womb in 71.
True that, brother. Yeah. What's your birthday? What's the actual day?
July 8th.
Nice. That's my mom's birthday.
That's Marty Feldman's birthday, too.
Okay.
It's Kevin Bacon's birthday, but...
Oh, well, there you go. Go.
But I think, Marty Feldman, Igor.
I love it, dude.
But I wanted to ask you, Deborah, did you have a favorite Friday the 13th?
Well, Jason Goes to Hell. And not just because of I sleep with the director, but
do you?
Once in a while.
I thought you slept with the dog.
How do you think well, that too, but how do you think she booked Secret Santa, dude? Come on.
Yeah, come on. Not off my talent. God, no.
Yes.
She's brilliant.
No, the thing is, I have always liked horror, but slasher horror is not my favorite subgenre of horror. I'm much more into...
I know a lot of people that like horrors too.
Ghosts and supernatural and haunted houses and creepy atmospheric horror, as well as, the old Vincent Price horror movies. I mean, I love them all. And I had seen the original Friday the 13th, and it just was not my thing. And then I met Adam. He was doing post on the film. And I, did some ADR for it and stuff. And then I really sat and watched the film. And what struck me about it was the cast and the script, because those actors gave everything. There was not a phoned in performance, and every single one of those actors, every single one of them is brilliant in the film. There is not a performance that isn't phoned in, that isn't under par.
Well, there's a few of them that were on the phone.
Hey,
yes.
Hey, you'll be here all night. Hey,
more wine with your dinner. So and then I've seen Jason X, and I've seen Jason Takes
You,
Manhattan.
you and I watched almost all of them at one
Yes,
point in a marathon. We did a marathon.
we did.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I have to say, honestly, not because of my relationship with Adam, Jason Goes to Hell is by far the best in the franchise.
Funny enough, do you know that we met a number of people on the journey of this? Like a lot of people, and that's their answer. And I'm always surprised because it's not my answer. Like somebody says, "What's your Friday movie?" I go, "Jason Lives." I'm a Jason Lives guy. Like I love that.
I like Jason Lives, and I'm good friends with Nancy McLaughlin.
She's
talked
great.
to her. I talked to her. She often calls me, but we talk about every other week or whatnot.
Yeah.
And I'm good friends with Nancy, and I'm a big fan of the final chapter. Even despite my issues with Judy, I love the final chapter.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. Absolutely. I would say two, 4, and 6 are all really good movies.
Well, with part 4, like I said, and I don't want to fault anybody that played Jason,
right?
But when I see Derek Mears in the 2009 film,
yes,
that opening prologue of the film was the best part of it. Mm-hmm. And when he's running at the girl there,
yes,
and he's about to swing the machete, I had Ted White vibes. If I ever meet him, I'm going to ask him if he was channeling Ted White.
Interesting.
Because it really brought that. And Ted White, to me, like I've had him on twice, incredible stories he told. And he didn't phone this in at all playing Jason.
No.
And he made the character scary. Not that anybody else didn't, but there was something a little more intense with him. And I gotta say, Kimberly Beck as Trish Jarvis, one of the most underrated Final Girls.
Yeah, I agree with
that.
A
lot of people credit Corey Feldman putting him down. Look at the battle damage she did to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
no, I agree.
Yeah. But no, I really like the 4th and 6th one, both for different reasons. I do want to ask though, did you guys get my favorite part of Jason Goes to Hell in the movie, Allison Smith?
You bet we did. Yes, we did.
I gotta say that slow motion shot, her jumping over that thing with that shot.
Oh, so good. So good.
I got goosebumps.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
Yeah.
We talked to her a lot. She's featured heavily in the doc. Yeah. And it's the very first interview she's ever done about the movie, ever, in her whole career. And it's amazing. Like she really came out for us. And that's also another bonus of the pandemic. I could not find her. No one could find her. And it was during the pandemic, I became, Encyclopedia Brown. And I was like, I'm going to find this woman. And I did, in a tiny farm in upstate New York. She'd given up the business. She's coming back now. She raised her kids, and now she's like coming back to the business. But I'm telling you, it took me 2 years to track her down. And I did. And then she was like, of course I'm going to come do your movie. I was like, great. And she killed it for us. She's great. She's adorable. And then she's always been an amazing person. And she just furthered that opinion for myself.
Her story in the doc is one of the most fascinating.
It's really cool.
She's one person from that movie I'd love to have on here, but she was a standout to me. Carrie Keegan, did you ever get her on, or did you guys ever patch things up?
No. We patched. Oh, no. Carrie and I patched things up. We're good. She and I are good. We actually did that at the signing of Crystal Lake Memories many years ago. We both talked, and look, we were kids when we did the movie, and shit went down, and that's fine. And I'm not going to blame her for it. I'm just going to say shit went down. I think she had agents in her ear, and I think everybody thought she was going to explode out of the movie, even though it was her very first job. And that happens. Like there are some actors that get talked into this idea that now you're a big shot. No, you're in the Friday 13th movie. Calm your jets. That said, we did offer to speak with her. And again, she had another piece of representation that wanted to get paid for it. And we went, no, it's a documentary. No, we're not paying people for interviews. That's, first off, if you're paying somebody, then you're beholden to that person that's paying you. And we don't want that. Like, I want people, especially with Carrie, I was like, if she wants to shit talk me, go for it. Like, I'm not thin skinned about it. Go. Like, I want real. I want people to be honest. And so we just couldn't make it work. So, and again, listen, I respect everybody where their choices come from. That's all good. So, and by the way, I do not say one negative word about her at any point in the doc or in any of the extras, because there's no point, man. There's just no point.
You know what I'm reminded of? A story you told me again. Back to another negative on Sean, who was originally supposed to play that part from Walking Dead.
Yep. Laurie Holden.
Yeah.
Laurie Holden.
Sean thought she was too pretty for the part.
Yep.
Would somebody tell Sean to go in the back room and just leave people?
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Look, Sean has a lot of reasons for why Sean does what Sean does. I'm not gonna guess to what his actual feelings were and why he wouldn't let us have her, but he wouldn't. And it's a shame because Laurie and I were really good friends. She's an amazing actor. And look at the career she's had. I mean, she's really had a substantive career. Like she's really quite something. And she was even as a kid. I mean, she was nominated for, I don't know what the name of the Canadian Emmy is, but she was nominated for Best Actress when she played Anna Karenina in Canada as a kid. And so she's done really remarkable work. And so it broke my heart because she gave the best audition. She was amazing. She was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But hey, by the way, here's the thing. Carrie Keegan still really gave me a good performance. I can't fault her for like her work. I think her work in the movie is really good. I think she's a good actor. I wouldn't have hired her if she wasn't a good actor. And she was really, especially in pre-production, she was all about doing the work. She was so excited about doing the work. Again, when people get to production, stuff happens. And again, I tell every actor I work with to this day, be very careful about the representation you choose, because they're going to get in your ear. They're going to make things difficult. Look, I will bet you anything, Greg, that a number of the people that you want to have on your show are stopped by representation, are saddled by that. And here's the problem. When you're an actor and you've got someone who's your gateway to getting work, you tend to do what they say. You tend to follow their lead. There was an agent, Carrie's agent at that time was a guy named Rick Axe, A-X-E. Right there, we knew what we were in for. Like anybody, your name is Axe, really? That's your name? Okay,
Ass?
Cool. No, A-X, yes, he should have been Ass. And he called me on a phone call. He called me a cocksucker.
Wow.
He called me Napoleon. He kept talking about how short I was. I was like, I'm not sure. Who are you talking to? And then he accused me of wearing lifts in my shoes. I was like, are you insane? I'm wearing sneakers. What are you talking about? I mean, it was nuts. This guy was bad news. That guy was bad fucking news. And I'm telling you, the minute I heard his voice, I knew we never stood a chance, Carrie and I. Like our relationship never stood a chance because he saw everything as adversarial. And there's a lot of agents and managers out there that see the world as adversarial. It's not. It's a collaborative art form. If you walk into it in an adversarial way, you're doomed. Doomed.
And most actors are insecure, and especially new young actors. And you're afraid if you don't listen to your representation, then they're going to drop you. And, there's just all kinds of dynamics. But they put that to bed a long time ago.
Oh, yeah. No, we're good. Carrie and I are good. We're good. But Allison is the shit. She's the shit. And by the way, you know who else is the shit?
Allison should have been the final girl.
I don't disagree with you. Wait, I don't disagree with you. And I will also tell you, Rusty Schwimmer, she is the shit. That woman is, oh my God. And she's so good in this doc. She is so funny. Oh, dude, she is a beast. She is so good. Love her.
And everyone
Love
is.
her. Yeah.
Everyone is entertaining. There's not a lull in it like, oh gee, this is
I
nobody's
like
checking their watches. It just gets
But that honestly,
funnier.
that's due to Eric. That's I got to tell you. Look, everybody did a great job, but here's the thing, and I said this when we won Best Editing for Let It Snow back in the day, long time ago. We won the award, and our editor couldn't be there that night because we were in LA. He was in New York, and so I accepted the award for him. And I said, the real secret behind comedy, is the editing. I said, actors can come and do a great job. A director can direct a great movie, but the editor is the one who really does create that sense of timing. And it's the most important. By the way, right after that, Richard Masur, who was the head of SAG, he was the president of SAG that year, he came up and made fun of me for saying that, like, oh, well, I guess us actors don't do anything. I was like, oh, bite me one day at a time. But I stand by that because look, you always want the actor to create the funny. Like you always want that to happen on camera, right? But when you're in this shot, okay, and you're juxtaposing my interview with Stephen Williams' interview, and you're creating that dynamic. Yeah, Stephen Williams is funny all the time. He's just funny. He's funnier because of the way that Eric dropped his lines in, that he treats it like a punchline. And Stephen wasn't talking in punchlines. He just had great lines that could be punchlines off of something I said, right? So I'd set it up, he'd knock it down. But that's Eric. That's the power of editing, of a great editor. And again, a great editor is one that you don't know is there. If a film is well edited, no one should say it's well edited. They should just go, that was a great movie. A great movie is because of the invisible work of an editor.
And some people like Kevin Smith, for example, he loves to edit his movies.
Sure.
So there's a lot of people that love the editing process.
I love the editing process. I adore it. But guess what? I also know, like Martin Scorsese does, like Steven Spielberg does, I know how important it is to have another voice in the room that is the person who is that is their expertise. A director can have all the thoughts in the world. The best director is someone who says, what's your idea? Show me what's funnier. And that's where I know I rely on Eric for that 100%, because I know that he knows the rhythm of things better than anybody. And again, by the way, it's why I brought up the fact that he's a great musician, because again, they're very closely related.
Agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Knowing music is knowing timing. Knowing timing is editing.
Yeah, I've also loved the story about the former couple that ended up having to do the sex scene in the tent.
So good.
It's a big part of the movie. It's really good.
Yeah. Did you get Leslie Jordan?
Gentlemen, I'm sorry, I have to run.
We actually, we're about to hit. Right? We're hitting 4 o'clock.
Thank you so much for having me on. I so appreciate it. And big kiss to you.
Do a cackle for me.
All right, just once. Hold on. Bye.
I love you, Debra.
Love you, sweetie.
I was going to ask a couple of questions, Adam, before we closed up. One, did you get Leslie Jordan as part of this?
We didn't. We had him for the schedule, and he passed just before we got him on camera. We are dedicating the whole movie to him.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole film is dedicated to Leslie.
Okay.
We all talk about him. We have a long section about Leslie in the movie, but we did not show him on camera.
Well, I know he asked him what his favorite kind of pop was.
I did.
What was his favorite kind of pop?
Birch beer. He loves birch beer.
There you go. That
was his thing.
Now, off topic.
Yes.
I got to ask because we lost Val Kilmer this year, and I know your history with him.
Yes.
I'm glad he ended things with Top Gun Maverick. I was not ever a fan of Top Gun, but I did like Top Gun Maverick.
Sure.
But, a guy who started off with Top Secret and Real Genius, and then he just became controversial. And a lot of people mention John Frankenheimer and Joel Schumacher. I never hear people mention his situation with you, and that was pretty severe.
I got a lot of calls. I got a lot of calls when he died. A lot of people were asking for quotes, and I wouldn't give them. Because look, here's the thing. I'm not going to go out of my way to speak ill of the dead because what's the point? I also will not pretend that somebody was wonderful. I won't do that. I won't do it. I think because you die, you don't become magical. I think that you are who you are. And I don't think anybody learns anything when people whitewash something like that. I think that's bullshit. There are a bunch of quotes that I saw from people who I know hated Val. And they said all of these sweet things. And I was like, you know what, man, this is the problem. Like, if we're not honest about this kind of stuff, we are going to perpetuate people doing the same kind of shit forever. So I actually think it'd be really good for people to see that your legacy can be a fucking nightmare if you're not nice to people. The problem with Val was that Val was not a nice guy. That's it.
Well, look what the legacy is of Hulk Hogan, and he's still alive. Wrestling
absolutely
fans stand him right now. You know,
but absolutely, because bad behavior should have consequence to it. Look, I'm not for canceling people. I'm not that guy. Like I'm not interested. I think it's bullshit. No, Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein, you can't dig a hole deep enough for those motherfuckers. But here's the thing, man. I think the audience should decide who they want to spend time with and who they don't want to spend time with. It's that simple. For my money, I just think the audience deserves to know what they're buying into. That's all. But I'm not for canceling things. I'm not. I think it's a disservice to the art because let's be honest. You know, if we canceled a guy like Val, right? Okay, so then what you're doing is you're canceling the work of Kurt Russell and Tombstone? No. Like, there's too many artists who are great, who did great work in all the things he worked on.
Do you have a favorite Val Kilmer movie?
Personally, well, Eric and I both were big Real Genius fans back in the day.
Yeah,
like, we did watch that movie a lot. And in fact, I will tell you, at one point early in my relationship with Val, he said something about making Conspiracy, and I turned to him and I said, well, it's a moral imperative. And the look on his face when I said it, he was so shocked. He was like, you know that movie? I was like, are you kidding me? I can quote your entire role in that film.
I've interviewed Michelle Mayrink, who was in that.
Sure, who's amazing. Love her to pee. I so adore her. Look, I think his performance in Tombstone is his single best work. I think that performance is extraordinary. I know there are people who love his work as Jim Morrison. I've never been a fan of The Doors, just the music, so I've never been in love with that performance. I also know that he went down a rabbit hole of a lot of drug abuse for that movie to being method, which I'm not a big fan of either. But look, he was an incredibly skilled craftsman. He wasn't a great actor because people who are great actors are great acting partners to other
Gary
actors.
Cole.
Right. Gary Cole is a great actor.
Loved him in Office Space.
And by the way, it's funny. Gary Cole had to have this scene where he slaps Jennifer Esposito around and grabs her by the hair, and he's horrible to her, right? Jennifer Esposito loved working with Gary. Like, they couldn't have been more adorable on set together, laughing and everything else. Val made Jennifer Esposito cry every single day on set that he was on set with her. Every day. And that was supposed to be her love interest. By the way, it only shows you how good an actress Jennifer Esposito is, because she always found her performance. She was always able to center herself. But, dude, she had to act opposite me for half of her scenes because Val would just leave. That's not a good actor. Sorry. It's a shitty actor. Anyway, we do it for
I know you're looking forward to the. First, I want to apologize. I know there was a little bit of negativity when I come on here, but when I mentioned Larry and I mentioned Judy, and I'm just saying I've been stopped on, and after putting 3K into 13 Fanboy, that still irks me.
Yeah.
But especially the Judy Aronson situation, because that's a serious accusation.
Yeah.
It's interesting because Lar Park Lincoln recently passed away, and Lar loved me to death.
She was such a great lady. Such a great lady.
She was on my show twice, and I was getting ready to book her again.
Mm-hmm.
But Lar not only was on my show, she gave me Terry Kaiser's number and information. She jokingly said, "So you can go stalk him." Most people in the know, and it still it hurts that I had to go through that.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I avoid them at cons is because I'm afraid it's not what I'm going to do, it's what I'm going to say.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
because
good for you. It's better to be careful about stuff like that. Good for you.
Because
Good for you.
that was just not right.
Yeah.
And it went on behind my back. And with Debbie, there were innocent people like Carrie Yates, Rob Mahoney, people like that got blamed, and they had nothing to do with it.
I know.
So I thank you for not buying into all of that. And I thank anybody else like Tracy Savage, Lar Park Lincoln, who still associated with me.
Yeah.
Yep. And any negativity I brought out, my apologies.
No worries.
But it's kind of how I feel. And I've always cherished the fact that I give people a chance to come on here.
Absolutely.
My former supervisor from my cleaning job come on here and just banter about cleaning just because she asked.
I love it, dude.
Am I going to get 1,000 views for it? Probably not. But when I'm on my deathbed, I'm going to look back on that. It's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just because she asked, Yeah. Yeah. So I pride myself on that. And I'm trying to be forgiving. It's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been cut down a few times, and that had a bad effect on me. But I appreciate you, and I appreciate this.
Thank you, brother.
I'm very happy to have done the interview.
I appreciate that you're a producer on the movie, dude. I appreciate that you're a producer on Hearts of Darkness, man. I appreciate it. I really do.
Are you nervous
really
about Sean being at the event?
No. Nope. I'm sure he'll be civil, as will I.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I'm not gonna. No, I don't cause that kind of issue. I really don't.
Well,
Live and let live.
What? Well, you guys all, when you get there, surround Judy Aronson and give her a big, big wet kiss for me.
You got it.
Now tell her stalker loves her from afar.
Will do, brother. We got to run.
Right. Okay, Adam, thanks for coming on. Eric, thank you for coming on as well.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Yep. And again, Adam, whenever you've got more projects, come back on here. I'm more than happy.
Will do, brother. You got it.
Give Cackle Queen a kiss for me.
Will do. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye, brother.
Bye.
Later.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Take care, Eric.
Bye.
Yeah.